and also how is Egypt is react to these recommendations to give you insights or give you some information regarding basically what's Egypt accepted and what Egypt is not accepted, and how it will affect the human rights situation in Egypt. As a part of the fourth cycle of the Universal UPR, the Egyptian government took part in the United Nations processes, which was created to help improve human rights through open and constructive international dialogue. However, a close look at the Egypt actions and responses during this cycle shows that the government treated the processes as a public relations exercises, not as a serious opportunity for reform. Egypt accepted many vague and non-controversial recommendations, but ignored or rejected the important ones that deal with the real human rights issues. It is important also to note that the UPR is now the last active and effective international tool for addressing Egyptian human rights record. Other efforts by international bodies like the UN Human Rights Office of the High Commissioners and special procedures have tried to help Egypt through technical support and training. These efforts focusing on reforming justice and human rights institutions and responding to individual violations. However, Egypt authorities have continued to avoid serious engagement, especially on key issues such as ending police violence, ensuring fair trial, free civil society, and protecting public freedoms. Despite support offered by the UN bodies and others, there has been little progress. And in some cases, the situation has gotten worse. The casts doubt on Egypt's commitment to its promises. Instead of making real change, the government is trying to deflect international pressure without improving conditions on the ground. A closer look at the recommendation Egypt received during the UPR shows that Egypt received during the UPR shows how selective its approach was. The government accepted 256 recommendations and partially accepted 16, but choosing to only note 62 recommendations. Note here, it's a diplomatic way to reject. This note recommendation, when we see this recommendation, were mostly the one that called for serious reforms, such as joining key international treaties like OPCAT, the Convention of Enforced Disappearances, and others, stopping executions and guarantee fair trials, releasing political prisoners like Ala Abdel Fattah, investigating killing like in detention center like Giorgio Regini case, recognizing the rights of LGBTQ persons. By avoiding this important issue and using vague language, the government showed that it is not truly willing to change. Egypt's behavior doesn't meet the basic standards expected from a member of the Human Rights Council. Given this, we think that the international community must take stronger action. Simply accepting a recommendation is not enough if the government doesn't follow through. There must be a real follow-up and independent monitoring to ensure progress. Just promises should not be mistaken for any kind of cooperation or good cooperation from Egypt government. While Egypt accepted many recommendations, most of them were generally or already implemented in a limited way. At the same time, it ignored this that deal with civil and political rights, like ending death penalty, stopping torture, ensuring fair courts, and fair trials, and protecting freedom of speech, associations, and peaceful assembly. Instead of clearly rejected this, the government used the word noted to avoid commitment while hiding its refusal. This showed that Egypt is using the UPR as a platform for political way, not as a serious tool for reviewing and improving its human rights record. This weakens the UPR processes and harm trust in Egypt's promises. It also helped to maintain a system of impunity and widespread violations. As Egypt continues to avoid serious reform, it's clear that voluntary efforts are not enough. Diplomatic talk, training, and technical help have not led to many meaningful change. In fact, violations have become more common, and justice and freedom indicators have worsened. For this reason, the international community must act urgently. It's time to create an independent international mechanism to monitor Egypt. This body should investigate serious abuses, reports regularly to the UN, and track whether Egypt is working to help or to improve its human rights record and human rights obligations. This is no longer optional now. It's now urgently needed to respond to the worsening human rights crisis. Thank you very much.